Mea Maxima Culpa, Silence in the House of God, is about sex abuse in the Catholic Church. It's really a crime film. It's not about religion, it's about crime. And in particular, it's about a priest in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who abused 200 deaf children, or over 200 deaf children. But it follows that crime from Milwaukee through Ireland all the way to the top of the Roman Catholic power structure, to the Pope himself. And that's where the responsibility rests. So that's what the film's about. Yes. I mean, I was not abused as a child, but I was raised Catholic. And you know, there was a kind of jokey atmosphere about it back in the day that I now look back and recoil. We talk about Father Hamlin, maybe don't spend too much time with him in the sacristy, that kind of thing. It was sort of jokey, but it was a given. It was part of the culture. So in that sense, I view this as the great crime of the Catholic Church. And so it was very personal to me because I was raised Catholic and because being Catholic is a part of that heritage is part of who I am. My aims for the film is to provoke outrage, but also to provoke admiration for these deaf men who would not be silenced and were so determined for so long to have their voices heard, and finally did, and they've had an impact. They've had an impact by getting the church to disgorge, through legal action, getting the church to disgorge some of its secrets. And secrecy, after all, is at the heart of criminality here. Not talking, the silence of the church. So I hope to provoke outrage and also admiration for these heroes. Winning the Academy Award was, needless to say, gratifying and hugely humbling. It also did convey, rightly or wrongly, the sense that I could tackle these tough subjects and maybe do them well. So that's given me opportunities, and so long as I don't blow them, so far so good. I mean, it's fair to say that when we started, we wanted to do both. We wanted to tell the story, this intimate story in Milwaukee, and also show how it connected to the bigger story. So that was very much a desire to do at the beginning, but it was very hard to do. For the longest time, as we showed it to people, they said, well, you got two stories here. You should pick which one you're going to do, the big story or the little story. And in the first cut, it was almost all Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which was actually a riveting story. We just felt that in the context of what had been done already, that our contribution could be something that takes the intimate, horrific detail of a crime committed in a particular place, but also shows how that crime was systematically covered up, and how that wasn't just a single incident, but it was part of a larger pattern of behavior that then takes place everywhere. Because that, in a way, is the real horror of the crime, is the fact that it's so widespread and so systemic. I don't know why I'm drawn to subjects like that, but I will tell you there is a similarity there. And whether it's the Catholic Church or whether it's market fundamentalism, you see people who believe so fervently in a religion that they're a part of, that they're afflicted with something we name in the film called noble cause corruption, which is a way of believing that because you're good, you can't do anything bad, and to develop the most unbelievable rationalizations and to inhabit a kind of self-deception that ends up being very cruel, because you can think, you can do the most appalling things and excuse it because you think that the end justifies the means, or that your belief in some magnificent creed should somehow excuse the tawdry crimes that you either commit or allow to be committed. So in that sense, Enron and the Catholic Church are not so very different. Yeah, isn't it funny how often that phrase, a few bad apples, pops up? Because that's the ultimate excuse by most institutions when they abuse their power. Oh, it's just a few bad guys or gals. nothing wrong with the institution. Whereas it's usually a case of a rotten barrel. And I'm drawn to stories like that because it's important that we understand how the process works. And interestingly enough, it leads you into the territory of the fictional movie or the novel because you need to portray people, or you need to have an understanding of the documentary context of people who aren't monsters or perfect heroes. They're gray, not black and white. Because then you understand that we're all capable of doing the wrong thing under certain circumstances. And that's how you understand how institutions go bad. The seductiveness of the few bad apples theory is that you can pin all the problems, you can demonize a few people and say, that person's bad. You get them out, everything's good. Well, it ain't so. Yeah, there's a wonderful moment in the film, which is a remark made by Marco Politi, a very talented Vatican watcher and journalist in Rome. He says, even the Pope is not all powerful. By which he means that he's actually a prisoner of a system, a prisoner of a bureaucracy, a prisoner of a 1,000-year-old setup where the institution becomes far more important than everybody. And so the current Pope, Pope Benedict, is a very weak man who doesn't either have the courage or indeed, it seems, even the power to do what's right in that moment. Makes it so necessary that a Pope assume the power to do what's right. It's the institution that corrupts him. There's no doubt that the recent report by Usada, USADA, has, had an effect on the Lance Armstrong film I've been working on for a number of years. And I filmed Lance Armstrong throughout 2009, and then went back and did subsequent interviews. We put the film on hold until recently. Now, with the Usada report, we're going to go back in, interview more people, and we've got the film. But I think it'll be pretty interesting. And we're fairly far along, and I look to early next year for when it might be done. I think that the interesting thing about the Lance Armstrong story, and I suppose in a way similar to religion, is that the Lance Armstrong story was so compelling. The idea of a guy coming back from cancer, being near the brink of death, and coming back and not only living, but actually succeeding on a magnificent scale. It's the sports, in some fun way, the world's most important sports story. It turns out that it may not be entirely true. And in that way, the Lance Armstrong story reflects not only on Lance Armstrong, but on all of us, both what we need out of our public figures, and also how angry and disappointed we are when we find out that they may have lied to us.